brother, my sister, what if what you're calling a failure was actually a whisper from Allah telling you, you're not being punished, you're being pulled closer. And if you don't pause now, you might miss the message that could change everything. The breaking you feel is not a breakdown, it's a divine opening. My beloved brother, my dear sister, Abi, I want you to take a deep breath. Because if your heart has been feeling heavy lately, if you've been quietly carrying something you can't even explain to anyone, then maybe this moment was written just for you. Perhaps you've been feeling distant from everyone, disconnected, lost in your own thoughts. You wake up tired even after sleeping. You pray, but something still aches inside it. You smile in front of others, but deep down, you're barely holding it together. You keep asking yourself, what's happening to me? Why do I feel so empty? Why does it feel like I'm falling apart? And I want to tell you something that may surprise you. What you're feeling right now, this pain, this stillness, this quiet struggle, it's not your end, it's not a punishment, and it's not a sign that Allah has abandoned you. This could be the beginning of something far greater than you imagine. You see, my brother, my sister, before Allah gives you something beautiful, He first prepares your heart to hold it. And preparation doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like breaking. Sometimes it feels like you're being pulled away from everything you love. Sometimes it feels like your life is falling apart piece by piece. But maybe it's not falling apart. Maybe it's falling into place. And maybe Allah is removing everything that doesn't belong in the next chapter of your life, so you don't carry yesterday's wounds into tomorrow's blessings. Before a tree bears fruit, it must be buried deep in the dark. Before a seed grows into beauty, it must crack open. And before a soul rises, it often bends under the weight of pain. And maybe that's you right now. Cracking, bending, breaking, but it's okay, because you are not alone in that darkness. Allah sees you. Allah hears your pain even when you don't say a word. Allah is closer to you right now than you've ever been to yourself. And He's not watching you break for no reason. He's breaking what was never meant to stay. He's removing the distractions, the false comforts, the empty attachments, because the blessing He's about to send you cannot land on a heart that is too full of what doesn't belong. So He empties it, He softens it, He slows you down, He isolates you. And yes, it hurts, but the hurt is not here to harm you, it's here to heal you. Because a heart that is broken by the world is often the heart that is most ready to receive Allah's mercy. Maybe you used to be strong on the outside, but numb on the inside. Maybe you used to laugh around people, but cried when you were alone. And maybe now Allah is saying to you, my servant, I'm bringing you back. Not with thunder, but with a whisper. Not with punishment, but with love. And that love sometimes arrives through pain, because pain awakens us and it softens us. It reminds us that nothing in this world can fill what only Allah can. So don't see this moment as your downfall. See it as a sacred transition. You are not falling, you are being held. You are not lost, you are being redirected. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Prepared for something only Allah knows. And wallahi, what He knows is always better than what you wanted. Maybe the job didn't come. Maybe the relationship ended. Maybe the plan fell apart. But maybe that was Allah's mercy in disguise. He knew that blessing would have hurt you. He knew that person would have distracted you. He knew that path would have led you away from Him. So He interrupted your comfort to reconnect you to His plan. My brother, my sister, before Allah gives you the peace you're searching for, He clears the noise. Before He gives you light, He allows you to feel the dark. Before He gives you what you're meant to carry, He strengthens the parts of you that no one sees. So if you're feeling like you've been breaking lately, know that it's not the end. It might just be the moment your soul is finally ready to receive what it was created for. What you're calling a breakdown might be the moment Allah opens a new beginning. And what feels like falling apart might just be the way He is making space for something far, far better. So let the tears fall. Let your voice tremble. Let yourself admit that you're tired. Then lift your hands, lower your head and whisper, Ya Allah, I don't understand, but I trust You. Because even if you feel broken, even if you don't feel worthy, Even if you've lost everything else, you still have Allah. And that will always be enough. When Allah closes a door, it's because that door was blocking your light. My brother, my sister, I know you're confused. You waited so long. You prayed so sincerely. You hoped with every fiber of your heart, and still, that door didn't open. That person didn't stay. That opportunity didn't work out, and that dream quietly slipped away. And maybe now you're looking at that closed door with pain in your chest, tears in your eyes, and questions in your heart. You're wondering, why did Allah let me want it so badly, only to take it away? But what if I told you that this closed door wasn't rejection, it was redirection? What if that silence was not Allah turning away from you, but gently pulling you away from something that would have harmed you? You see, sometimes we fall in love with something that would have stolen our peace. We plan our whole future around someone who wasn't even written to stay. And Allah, in His infinite mercy, He shuts the door, not because He wants you to suffer, but because He sees what you cannot. He protects you from what you never imagined would break you. Because what's on the other side of that door could have dimmed your light, distracted your soul, weakened your connection with Him. And Allah will never let you settle for something that dims your faith. So when the door doesn't open, don't assume it's because you weren't good enough, or your dua wasn't accepted, or you've been forgotten. Never. You are not forgotten. You are being saved. Saved from a path that would have cost you your peace. Saved from a future that would have buried your light. Saved from a version of yourself that Allah doesn't want you to become. And sometimes the only way Allah can protect your heart is to break it first. Because the truth is, if that door had opened, you would have walked right in and maybe never come back out. And so He closed it tightly, firmly, completely. And you stood there knocking, crying, begging, not realizing that every moment the door stayed shut was a moment Allah was protecting you from something you didn't yet understand. You thought you were losing, but you were being loved. You thought you were abandoned, but you were being guided. You asked, Ya Allah, why are you doing this to me? And He responded through silence, through stillness, through delay. Because the lesson wasn't meant to be loud, it was meant to be felt. Allah does not slam doors. He closes them gently, but completely, so that you don't keep reopening what was never meant for your soul. And yes, it hurts. Yes, you'll cry. Yes, you'll miss what you thought would be yours. But one day, you'll thank Him. One day you'll look back and realize that the thing you thought you couldn't live without was actually blocking the blessing that was meant to change your life. And you were praying for peace, and He took away what was disturbing your peace. You were praying for guidance, and He removed the one pulling you away. You were praying for light, and He closed the door that was casting a shadow over your soul. You see, my dear brother, my beautiful sister, Allah doesn't just answer your du'as with gifts. He sometimes answers them with goodbyes, and it takes time to see it. It takes healing, it takes surrender, but eventually you'll see it clearly. That door didn't close to block your blessing, and it closed to preserve it, to protect it, and to make sure you didn't miss the one Allah wrote for you long before you even knew to ask for it. Because what's written for you cannot be taken, and what's not written for you will never stay, no matter how much you beg. And Allah, He never removes something unless He plans to replace it with something better for your heart and better for your akhirah. Sometimes better doesn't look shinier. Sometimes better feels slower. Sometimes better feels like silence, like emptiness, like delay. But it's better because Allah chose it. And when Allah chooses something for you, it means it fits your soul in ways your mind can't yet understand. So stop staring at the door. Stop waiting for something that was never yours. Stop trying to walk through a chapter that Allah has already closed with wisdom. Instead, turn your heart back to Him. Say, Ya Allah, even though I don't understand, I trust that You know what I do not. Because trusting Allah doesn't mean you won't feel sad. It means you trust that even your sadness has a purpose. And in that trust, in that surrender, is where you'll find your real peace. Let that door stay closed. Let that chapter end, and let that prayer remain unanswered. Because what's coming is something your heart has never experienced before. And when it arrives, you'll realize why Allah had to say no to what you once thought was everything. He didn't close the door to harm you. He closed it because your light was never meant to shine in that room. When people leave you, it's so Allah can reach you. My brother, my sister, I know it hurts when they leave. The silence of someone who once meant everything to you is louder than any noise in the world. You sit with your phone in your hand, waiting for a message that doesn't come. You replay memories in your mind like old films, trying to understand what went wrong. You tell yourself, I gave them everything. I showed up when no one else did. I loved them with sincerity. And yet, they left. Maybe they drifted slowly, or maybe they disappeared overnight. Either way, it shook something inside you. It made you feel like you were not enough. It made you question your worth. It made you wonder, if they left me, does that mean Allah has too? But let me tell you something. The departure of people is not always a punishment. Sometimes it is a sign that Allah wants to reach your heart in a way He never could, while it was wrapped around someone who was never meant to stay. Because sometimes people take up space in your heart, and that was meant for Allah. They become your source of peace, your reason for waking up, your main focus. And slowly, without realizing, you begin to forget the one who gave them to you in the first place. And so Allah, in His mercy, removes them, not to punish you, but to purify you, to remind you that the most loyal companionship was never found in people. It was always found in Him. My brother, my sister, if someone walked out of your life, maybe it was because you were about to walk into something sacred, and they were never meant to be part of it. When people leave, we often stare at the door, but Allah wants us to look at the sky to remember who remains. When everything else is taken, you see, Allah doesn't just test you with pain. He tests you with attachment. And sometimes the person He removes was the very one that was quietly pulling you away from your purpose. Maybe you were growing too comfortable in the wrong direction. Maybe your du'as were slowing down. Maybe your connection with Allah had become silent. And so He shook your heart, not to break it down, but to awaken it. When you lost them, you found your tears again. You found your dua again. You found sujood again. You found yourself whispering, Ya Allah, not because you were strong, but because you had nothing left to hold on to. And that, my dear brothers and sisters, is a sacred moment, because when everything is removed from your life and the only thing that remains is your hands raised to the sky, that is when Allah begins to pour His mercy into your soul. Sometimes people were only meant to be a bridge, not the destination. They were written in a few pages, not the whole book. But we, in our human hearts, try to turn every page into a forever. We try to make temporary people feel like permanent homes. And when they leave, it feels like we've been evicted from safety. But what if their exit was the first time you truly entered the presence of Allah? What if their silence was how Allah finally made you listen again? What if their absence created the quiet space your soul needed to grow? So don't chase what left. Don't beg for what Allah removed. Don't cling to someone whose season in your life has passed. Because every person that walks away is part of a divine equation, a calculation written in your qadr before you were even born. And Allah never removes without a reason. That reason might not be clear now. You might still cry when you remember their voice. You might still ache when their name comes up. But over time, you'll see it. You'll see how their absence became the space where Allah planted peace. You'll see how the wound they left became the doorway to your healing. And eventually, you'll look back and say, Alhamdulillah, they left because when they did, I finally came back to Allah. You see, the ones who walk away were never holding your destiny. They were never in charge of your risk, your happiness, or your healing. That's always been in the hands of Allah. The one who never walks away, the one who never grows distant, the one who responds even when all you say is a broken whisper. So stop seeing their absence as a curse. Start seeing it as a call, a divine call. Because sometimes when Allah wants to pull you closer to Him, He allows the world to push you away. And maybe that's what happened to you. Maybe you're not being punished. Maybe you're being protected. Maybe you're being rewritten. Maybe you're being remembered. And maybe, just maybe, now that they've gone, you'll finally see the beauty of the one who never left you. Allah is Al-Wadud, the most loving. And no one will ever love you the way He does. So if they walked away, let them, because Allah is still here. And what He's preparing for you is worth every tear, every silence, and every goodbye. The sudden stillness is a sacred sign that you're being hidden for something greater. My dear brother, my precious sister, have you noticed how quiet your life has become lately? Everything used to move so fast. So many calls, so many voices, so many plans. But now, it feels like everything just paused. Like the noise has faded, and all that's left is this strange heavy silence. So you look around and nothing is moving. No news, no change, no signs, just stillness. And deep down, it starts to make you question, am I being left behind? Why has my life stopped moving? Did I miss something? Is Allah angry with me? Did I take the wrong path? But listen closely, my brother, my sister. This stillness is not proof that you are forgotten. It is not punishment. It is not a sign that Allah has walked away. Sometimes stillness is sacred, and it is the space Allah creates when He's building something bigger behind the scenes, something your current pace is not ready for yet. You see, movement is easy to notice, but stillness is harder. It's quieter, more confusing, but far more powerful, because in stillness, that's where Allah often works on the inside of you. And we often mistake the silence for failure, the pause for punishment, the stillness for rejection. But maybe this stillness is the safest space you've ever been in, because it's not that your life has stopped. It's that your soul is being restructured. Maybe you're not stuck. Maybe you're hidden, and not just hidden from people, but hidden from distractions, from unnecessary noise, from premature attention, from things that would have stolen your focus before the real assignment began. You ask, why is nothing happening? Why? But what if everything is happening, just not in ways you can see? Allah is never still, even when your life is. His planning is constant. His mercy is always in motion. But sometimes He places you in stillness to protect the weight of what's coming, because what's coming requires a version of you that isn't constantly distracted, a version that's strong, rooted, quiet inside. And so He stops the movement. He slows the noise. He quiets the world around you until the only thing left moving is your heart turning back to Him. And look at the prophets. Each one of them had a moment of divine stillness before they were sent forward. Yusuf alayhi salam was thrown in a well, left in darkness, hidden in stillness, but in that silence, he was being preserved for the palace. Musa alayhi salam fled into the desert, alone, confused, still, but in that solitude, he was prepared for the greatest mission in history. Even our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, before revelation came, he was taken into the stillness of Gar Hira. No noise and no crowds, just silence. And in that sacred silence, the Quran descended. What does that teach us? That before something great happens outside of you, something deep must happen inside of you. And that inside work often begins with stillness. So if Allah has made your life quiet, if the doors feel slow, if the answers feel delayed, if the people are distant, if the world seems to be forgetting you, then maybe it's because Allah is remembering you. He is giving you what most people never experience, the sacred gift of being hidden before being elevated. You see, people chase the spotlight, but the ones whom Allah chooses, He hides them first. He shapes them in silence. He strengthens them in sujood. He teaches them in whispers. He matures them in stillness, because what's coming will not be ordinary. And Allah never sends someone into the world with greatness inside them until He has taught them how to walk alone in the dark. So if you're in that darkness, if your life feels paused, if your plans are on hold, don't fight it. Don't rush to be seen. Don't beg to be busy. Don't curse the quiet. Instead, sit in it, cry in it, pray in it, trust in it. Because this stillness is your sacred workshop. It is where your next chapter is being written. It is where Allah is whispering things into your soul that no one else is meant to hear. It is where the you that can carry the blessing is being born. So don't call this stillness a setback. Call it sacred. Don't call this silence a failure. Call it preparation. Don't call this season the end. Call it the waiting room for the version of you that will walk into the very thing you once thought you'd never have. And know this dash, when Allah hides you, it's because He's protecting what He's preparing. The blessing you're waiting for, the purpose you can feel in your heart. The moment you've been making dua for, it's not being delayed, it's being refined. You're not missing it, you're being matured enough to carry it. Because if He gave it to you before this stillness, you would have mishandled it. You weren't ready. But now He's building you in secret, sharpening you in solitude. So when it arrives, it doesn't destroy you, it completes you. So my brother, my sister, don't fight the pause, don't fear the quiet, and don't think Allah is ignoring you. Just because the world around you has grown still. Stillness is where the heavens planned revelation. Stillness is where your heart finally hears Him. Stillness is where destinies shift and storms settle. So breathe, be patient, let Him finish the work He's doing inside of you. And when it's time, He'll release you from hiding and place you right where you were always meant to be. Seen, strong, softened, and full of light. Because stillness was never empty, it was sacred. Your private tears are cleaning the heart that will hold the blessing. My dear brother, my beloved sister, how many times have you cried alone with no one there to hold you? How many times have your tears fallen onto your pillow at night with no reply, no comfort, just silence? How many times have you wiped your eyes quickly so no one would see how tired you really are? You smiled for the world, but you broke in private. You held it together for everyone else, but no one asked how you were holding up. And those moments, the ones where your heart aches in secret, where your duas are whispered through trembling lips, where your tears flow without sound, those moments, my brother, my sister, are not forgotten. They are not wasted. They are not invisible. Those private tears, no, are seen by the one who knows you better than you know yourself. And they are doing something sacred. They are not signs of weakness. They are not proof that your faith is broken. They are not shameful. In fact, they are cleaning your heart, washing away what was never meant to stay, softening the parts of you that became hardened, purifying the space inside you that will soon carry something beautiful. Because before Allah gives you something great, He often allows the heart to be softened with sadness. He prepares the soul to carry light by allowing it to feel the dark. Tears are not a sign you've lost it. They are a sign you're being rebuilt. Every time you cried alone and thought no one knew, Allah knew. Every time your chest tightened from grief and your voice failed to express it, Allah understood. Every time you held back a sob in sujood, every time you whispered, Ya Allah, help me, when you felt like you had nothing left, those weren't breakdowns, they were breakthroughs. And though the world didn't see them, the angels recorded every drop, every dua, every moment you chose faith, even when your heart was exhausted. Allah does not ignore the tears of His servants. He does not dismiss the cries of the sincere. He is Al-Latif, the most gentle. And He is closer to you in those tearful moments than you will ever be to anyone else. You see, we cry in front of people because we want to be heard. We want to feel loved. We want to be seen. But when we cry in front of Allah, we're not just heard, we're healed. Because private tears are not just sadness. They are sacred surrender. They are how the soul says, Ya Allah, I trust you, even though I don't understand. They are how the heart says, I can't do this alone. I need you. And that is when healing begins. That is when your heart becomes soft enough to receive what Allah has written for you. Because the blessings you're making dua for, they cannot rest in a heart that is hard. They cannot live in a heart that is full of noise, ego, or pride. So Allah sends softness, and He often delivers that softness through tears. Tears that humble you, tears that quiet the noise, Tears that make you stop and turn back to Him. And while you're crying, you don't see the work that's being done. You don't feel the cleansing that's happening inside. You don't see how your heart is slowly becoming exactly what it needs to be to carry what's coming next. You think, I'm falling apart. But Allah says, you're being prepared. You think, I'm alone. But Allah says, I'm closer to you than your own breath. You think, I can't take this anymore. But Allah says, I'm removing what was never meant to stay. Sometimes tears don't change the situation, but they change you. And once you change, that's when the situation begins to transform. Because a heart that has cried in secret is a heart that is ready to trust. And a heart that trusts is a heart that is ready to carry what Allah gives. So don't hide your tears. Don't be ashamed of your pain. Don't feel weak when you cry. Your tears are not a sign of failure. They are a sign you're still connected. They are a sign your soul is still alive, still reaching, still trying. And that alone is beautiful. My dear brother, my precious sister, maybe no one ever thanked you for how strong you've been. Maybe no one noticed how often you smiled when all you wanted to do was break down. But Allah saw it all. He recorded every silent prayer. He counted every tear. And He never let a single one fall without purpose. Because every tear that fell in His remembrance, every tear that was paired with a whispered, Ya Allah, every tear that came from a place of pain but landed in sujood, that tear is light. That tear is proof you're still chosen. That tear is the water, preparing the soil of your heart for something beautiful to grow. And very soon, you'll look back and realize that what you cried for was only the beginning of what you were about to receive. So let the tears come up, but don't let the hope fade. You are not broken, you are not forgotten, you are not weak, you are healing. You are being softened, you are being made ready for something only Allah can see right now. And one day soon, that secret will unfold, that blessing will arrive, and that light will return, and you'll understand that your private tears were never a sign that Allah had left you. They were proof that He was closer than ever. When everything feels lost, it means the blessing has nowhere else to go but you. My dear brother, my precious sister, sometimes you reach a point where everything feels lost. The people you relied on have changed. The plans you worked so hard to build fell apart. The dreams you prayed for feel like they're slipping through your fingers. And when you look around, all you see is emptiness, no signs, no answers, just silence. And you start to wonder, why me? What did I do wrong? Why is Allah allowing everything to disappear all at once? But listen closely. There is something deeply sacred happening in the moment you feel you've lost everything. Because sometimes Allah removes every single thing around you, so the blessing has nowhere else to go but straight into your heart. You see, when we're surrounded by options, surrounded by people, surrounded by comfort, we forget to receive. We get distracted, we get arrogant, we hold on to everything but Allah. So He begins to empty your life gently, quietly, mercifully. He allows things to be taken away, and He allows confusion to settle in. He allows you to feel alone, not to harm you, but to strip away everything that was blocking your blessing. You thought you were losing, but in reality, you were being cleared of everything that wasn't built to carry the next part of your journey. Allah doesn't build on shaky ground. So He removes what's unstable. He removes what's temporary. He removes what looks like it was for you, but deep down would have delayed your growth. So now you stand with empty hands, tired eyes, and a heavy heart, no plan left, no control. And that's when something beautiful happens. You finally say, Ya Allah, I surrender. That moment of surrender, that moment where you let go of what you were forcing, that's when you become ready to receive. Not because you figured it all out, but because you finally made space. My brother, my sister, the blessing you're praying for can't land on a heart that's already full. It can't enter a life that's already too loud. It can't grow in a soil that's already crowded. So Allah empties everything, not to punish you, but to purify you, to soften you, to bring you back to a place where only He matters. And in that space, that sacred emptiness, you'll find something most people never taste. Closeness to the one who never leaves, to the one who removes everything. So you could finally hear his whisper again. And when you reach that closeness, that raw vulnerability, that stripped down real version of you, that's when he gives, that's when he replaces it, that's when he brings you something that fits your soul in a way nothing else ever could. But you had to be emptied first. You had to be brought to your knees. You had to stop pretending you were in control. You had to lose your grip so Allah could show you that it was always His hand holding everything together. And maybe that's where you are right now. No more pretending and no more performing. Just you and Allah. And He sees you. And He sees the quiet strength it took to survive what you never talked about. He sees the nights you stayed up wondering when your time would come. He sees the effort behind the smile you wear in front of others. He sees the way you've been waiting, without complaining, without breaking, without giving up, even when everything felt lost. But here's the beautiful truth. When everything else is removed, Allah finally gives you what was always yours. Because when there's nothing left, there's nothing in the way. No more people to credit, no more distractions to steal your light, no more false comfort, just you and the mercy that was always meant to reach you. It's not gone and it's not delayed. It's coming and it's closer now. Because the path is finally clear, but you had to walk through the fire to learn how to carry what's coming. You had to lose everything so you could discover that Allah was always everything. You had to cry in private so He could build you in silence. You had to lose your plan so you could finally fall into His. Then wallahi, His plan is better, wider, softer, more beautiful than anything you were forcing. So now, take a breath. Stop chasing what left. Stop clinging to what fell apart. Stop trying to figure it all out. You're not lost. You're being led. You're not empty. You're being cleared. You're not being delayed. You're being designed. Because when the blessing comes, it will fit the exact shape of your scars. It will speak the exact language of your pain. It will enter without noise. But it will heal like nothing else ever could. And you'll finally understand this ... This is why Allah let everything else fall. So you'd have no choice but to fall into Him. And in that fall, you rise. Warnings from Allah are often dressed as heartbreak, but they are invitations to dua. My dear brother, my beloved sister, sometimes the deepest pain you've ever felt comes wrapped in something that looked like love. You trusted, you gave your all. You let someone into your life, maybe even into your heart. And they left without warning, without closure, without mercy. And now you're left behind, wondering what it all meant, wondering why it had to hurt this much, why it ended this way, why something so beautiful turned so heavy. You try to be strong, you try to move on, but deep down, the wound stays. You cry, but only in private. You smile, but only for others. You pray, but sometimes your voice breaks halfway through. You whisper to Allah, was this a punishment? Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? But my dear heart, please listen closely. What happened to you was not a punishment. It was not cruelty from Allah. It was not the end of your story. It was a call, a divine call, a whisper from the most merciful to come closer. Because sometimes when you stop listening to the gentle signs, Allah allows the world to break your heart. Just enough to awaken your soul. Not to destroy you, but to remind you that this world was never meant to hold your heart. And sometimes the only way to turn your face back to the sky is when the earth beneath you crumbles. The heartbreak was not rejection, it was redirection. It wasn't to end your faith, it was to renew it. It wasn't to make you bitter, it was to soften you. It wasn't to close your heart, it was to open it to the only one who will never leave you. Because sometimes Allah allows the thing you loved to hurt you, so you could finally understand that it wasn't love, it was a distraction. Sometimes He removes the person you couldn't stop thinking about because they were replacing your remembrance of Him. And the heartbreak you feel, that emptiness, that ache in your chest, it's a sacred space. It's where your dua begins. Before the heartbreak, maybe you stopped praying on time. Maybe you forgot how much your heart needed Allah. Maybe you gave your soul to someone who was never going to carry it with care. And so Allah allowed your heart to shatter, not to punish it, but to rebuild it. And when you sat in the dark, when the silence was too loud, when your tears had no one else to fall for, that's when your lips finally whispered, Ya Allah, I need you. That dua, that broken whisper, that's why it all happened. Because sometimes the pain you feel is the only doorway back to the one who heals. You see, the heartbreak wasn't the end, it was a beginning, a sacred invitation, and a hidden door. You didn't lose, you were being returned. Returned to Allah, returned to stillness, returned to the version of you that knows who to call at 2 a.m. when no one else replies. And that is a mercy in disguise. Because the ones who walk away can only walk as far as Allah allows. And when they leave, it's only because He wrote that they could no longer follow you into the next chapter of your life. You didn't get left behind, you got pulled forward. Forward into a deeper connection with your Creator. Forward into a heart that now whispers dua. Instead of waiting on people, forward into a soul that now trusts Allah more than it trusts anyone else. So don't curse the heartbreak, don't regret the tears, and don't close your heart just because someone couldn't handle its light. You are not broken beyond repair, you are being rebuilt in a better form. Not to love smaller, but to love smarter, to love in a way that never replaces Allah again. Because when you finally learn that dua is stronger than desire, that sujood is safer than comfort, that tawakkul is deeper than any human promise, you are no longer fragile and you are free. So let the heartbreak teach you. Let it cleanse you. Let it peel back the layers of who you were pretending to be. Because underneath all the pain is a soul that has been trying to return home. And now that you're here on the prayer mat with tears in your eyes and your hands raised in surrender, now Allah is about to show you that your dua was always more powerful than the love you lost. And one day you'll look back at this heartbreak and say, Ya Allah, thank you for removing what I thought I needed, so I could finally find what I was created for. Because what you lost was never meant to stay, and what's coming could only reach you through a heart that was made soft again. That's why it broke, that's why it hurt, that's why it left. So you could finally remember, no one answers the broken heart like Allah does. And your heartbreak, it wasn't a wall, it was a door. And the moment you made dua, you didn't just begin healing, you started walking toward everything you were begging for. Maybe what you call a warning was actually a whisper from Allah. My beloved brother, my precious sister, and have you ever looked back at a moment in your life and said, I should have seen it coming, I should have listened to my gut, I knew something was off, but I ignored it? Sometimes we call them regrets, sometimes we call them warnings. But what if they were something else entirely? What if they were not warnings to scare you, but whispers to awaken you? What if that discomfort, that delay, that heartbreak wasn't meant to break you, but to wake you? You see, Allah doesn't always shout. He doesn't always stop us with loud signs. He doesn't always show you fire from the sky. Sometimes He just whispers a strange feeling in your chest, an uneasiness in your heart, a delayed plan, a conversation that didn't sit right, a dream that disturbed your sleep, and something small, so soft that if you're not paying attention, you might miss it. But if you're listening, you'll hear something powerful. Come back to me. Because every missed opportunity, every delayed answer, every closed door was not a punishment, and it was a pause, a whisper from your Lord, an invisible rope pulling you back. And sometimes Allah gently unsettles your heart because He's trying to protect your soul. You were chasing something, you were building something, you were forcing something, and deep inside you knew it didn't feel right, but you kept going. You told yourself, it'll get better, it's just a phase, it's all in my head, but it wasn't. That was Allah whispering into your fitra, calling your soul back to alignment. And when you didn't listen, He made it louder, not with punishment, but with detours, with unanswered du'as, with people who suddenly left, with blessings that kept slipping away. with plans that fell through again and again. You called it failure. You called it bad luck. You called it disappointment. But maybe it wasn't any of those things. Maybe it was a divine nudge, a sacred redirection, a whisper not of rejection, but of love. Because when Allah loves you, He doesn't always give you what you ask for. He gives you what your soul actually needs. And sometimes that means saying no. That means delaying what you begged for. That means letting you lose what you held on to too tightly. Why? Because your soul was not created for this world. It was created for Him. And every time you forget that, He whispers. He whispers into the pain. He whispers into the silence. He whispers through people who leave. He whispers through doors that won't open. He whispers through the longing that never goes away. He whispers through the weight in your chest that words can't describe. And His whisper says, like, come back, I'm here, I'm waiting, and I've never left you. But we mistake the whisper for punishment. We call it a test, we call it hardship. We say, why me? We feel forgotten. But how can you be forgotten? By the one who placed the test in your path. Just to remind you that He still sees you, that He still wants you, that He's still calling your name, not loudly, not with force, but with love, with mercy, with silence that echoes louder than noise. You see, my brother, my sister, not every pain is a storm. Some pain is a map. Not every delay is a denial. Some delays are doors to dua. Not every unanswered prayer is forgotten. Some are paused until you become the version of you that can finally carry the answer. So if your life feels confusing right now, if you're standing in the middle of silence, if things that once made sense now feel like puzzles that won't fit,